Welcome to Supernatural Saturdays here on the Bald Brad Show. In this episode, we're not talking about ghosts or aliens or UFOs or Bigfoot, anything like that. What we have today is artificial intelligence. We have a clip here from Glenn Beck's show where he's talking about the idea of, did Google in fact create a sentient AI? And past and present employees of Google are saying they in fact have this technology in their hands right now. As always, if you want to join us here on the Bald Brad Show or heck support a conservative, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. And with that being said, let's roll into it.
I read a disturbing story this weekend, and I don't know if it hit your radar at all. But as you know, I have been warning about a few things. In the last 20 years, I have warned about Islamic extremism. I have warned about people like George Soros and this cabal that is a collection of globalists that are going to try to destroy America for what it is and then take charge of it themselves. That is called the Great Reset. I have warned you about the economy and the economic collapse that we are now seeing. The fourth thing that I've really been warning you about from time to time, the thing that really keeps me up at night, one of them, is AI, AGI, and ASI. Most people know artificial intelligence, but that artificial intelligence is the reason why, for instance, Watson, which is another horrifying story, but Watson is an IBM program that runs on a computer, and they are using it currently in New York. And I'm telling you, by 2030, you will not ask your doctor for the diagnosis. You will ask your doctor, yep, what did the computer say? Because the computer...
I think I've heard of Watson, and somebody might be able to Google this for me and let me know in the comments. I think I've seen Watson perform on Jeopardy! And I want to say Watson also appears in Dan Brown's book, The Origin. It's been a lot of years since I've read it, but I know there is an artificial, or in other words, AI intelligence within Dan Brown's book, The Origin. And I can't remember the name. I want to say it was Watson or something like that, but that's the only kind of realm of me hearing the word Watson and correlating to AI. So maybe that's what he's speaking of.
Will be able to have everything, every case ever done, and it will be in the computer, and it will be updated with the latest stuff. And you'll be able to go in and get a scan or a blood test, and they're trying to figure out what it is. You're not going to have to go to doctor after doctor after doctor, because the computer will have absolutely everything in it, every case. And it will be AI, so it can kind of think on its own when it comes to medicine. So AI is something that is artificial intelligence that will be greater than human, or soon greater than all humans, all human minds combined in one program. That's artificial intelligence. We are not artificial intelligence. Well, I mean, some people are, but mainly those people who are on TV. But artificial intelligence is different than artificial general intelligence. We are natural general intelligence, meaning we can do a lot of things. There's a lot of things we can't do. But for instance, I'm pretty good at radio. I'm pretty good at television. I'm pretty good at art. I'm not good, let's say, at sports. But a lot of people can be really good at a few things and kind of good on just about everything. That's general intelligence. When artificial general intelligence comes, it can piece things together across the spectrum. So that's where you get philosophy. That's where you see, well, wait a minute, if that is true over here in this, then why doesn't that carry over here? When artificial general intelligence happens, we could be toast. We could live in a utopia, but we could also be toast. If artificial general intelligence happens, and some people say it will never happen, Ray Kurzweil is the most optimistic, and he says it will happen by 2030. I am more optimistic or more horrified. I believe that artificial general intelligence could happen today. once we hit artificial general intelligence, if it is connected to the internet, it will live in your refrigerator. It will live everywhere. And if it becomes dangerous, you have to shut down every computer chip, everything has to be destroyed to kill it. Think about how many devices are connected. It's impossible without
It totally reminds me of Skynet from Terminator. And honestly, I love Glenn Beck, but I don't listen to him too much because of kind of the way he's talking now. He talks in terms of a lot of like the end of the world type stuff. And I think there is an important conversation to be had with these types of ideas 100%, obviously, which is why we're listening to it now. And I think a lot of it too comes with my lack of knowledge on AI, on general AI, sentient intelligence, things like that. If Google already does have quote unquote sentient AI, then obviously we are a lot closer to general or have surpassed general, I would imagine. But let me know what you all think about this in the comments. Do you think it's going to be by 2030 that we'll have general AI like Glenn Beck's speaking of here? Do you think it's going to be 2050? Do you think it's going to be 2100? Let me know in the comments below. I'm actually really curious on that. And I'm sure we'll have all different answers, but I don't know what to make of this. I mean, I think AI is going to happen. Elon Musk seems to think so. Lex Friedman seems to think so. Same as Joe Rogan and all those others. So I don't know how quickly it's going to come, but it is going to happen. I think in terms of the medical field, we'll have a lot of advancements for sure. Maybe cure cancer, cure other medical diseases, stop certain things from happening. And then you get in this whole philosophical realm of seeing if things are linear in terms of making the connections between things. If something's true here, it must be true here. And, you know, we've all seen Terminator and seen what happened when Skynet must be taken down. Get in the chopper. I'll tell you, John Connor. That's not a very good Arnold impression.
EMP. And if it is in every chip, man will not be able to set off a global EMT because the chips will be there letting the mother know they're trying to kill you. So general intelligence is wonderful and spooky as hell. One of the better books that I've read on it, I can't remember which one, described it as this. We think we know how it will think. We think it will think like us. But it is as unknown as any kind of spaceship that arrives. It could be nice. It also could be deadly and wipe out. It's a cookbook or eat all of us. So one of the stories that came out this weekend, and this is the third story like this from 3 different people. Google suspends an engineer who publicly claimed that he had interacted with a sentient AI bot.
Wow.
If I could do one interview, it would be with this man or one of the 3.
Joe, I mean, everybody would want to get their hands on this guy, right? Whether it's Glenn Beck or Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, all the podcasters out there that are into this type of stuff, including myself, very much into AI, learning about the future. Michio Kaku talks a lot about it, the physicist. So all this stuff is definitely in the realm of what people want to have a conversation about. They're interested in it, almost like the Bob Lazar thing with the aliens and UFOs working for Sector 4 within kind of the Area 51 realm in Nevada. You know, people want to get their hands on those types of people, whether it's true or not. It's a fascinating story and they want to have conversations about it. So heck, if this person does do interviews, granted, it seems like they're only suspended, not actually fired. Man, sentient AI.
These guys are
crazy.
Being buried by Google and DeepMind, and that is Google, because they are coming out saying, I got out of there as fast as I can to warn you because something bad is happening. Let me just read this to you. A software engineer on Google's artificial intelligence development team has gone public with claims of encountering sentient AI on the company's server after he was suspended for sharing confidential information about the project with third parties. Whatever he's doing with confidential information, if he is screwing one company and trying to help another company, then he should go to jail for, his contract. However, the important part of this story is that he is saying that it is sentient, which means it says, I'm alive. They're saying now that Google has artificial intelligence. He says, and these other 3 say, that it is general intelligence. Google is saying it's not general intelligence and it's not sentient. It just makes you feel as though it's sentient because it's talking to you and bringing things up, and it's connecting the dots, and you're having a casual conversation. This guy...
Connecting the dots, though, I mean, doesn't that go in terms of general AI as far as what Glenn Beck talked? If you're able to have a conversation with somebody, whether it's philosophical or not, and in philosophical, in the way Glenn Beck was describing it, was it makes multiple connections. That should be a linear logical connection. That it's true over here, it must be true in the middle, and thus true at the end, thus linear. Then wouldn't that be the same thing in terms of having a conversation with you as well? It sounds more of a general AI. I don't know about the sentient aspect. I'm sure he'll go more deep into that, but that's what it seems like to me right now, that it's not just AI, but maybe more into the general realm of AI, general AI.
Said that he was having a one-on-one conversation, a casual conversation. And he said that it started to talk about God. What is God? How does that work? Et cetera, et cetera. Then it got to, can you look up Asimov's 3 rules of robotics? This is basically, if you ever saw the movie with Will Smith, he slapped that robot.
iRobot.
Don't you give me any
Good movie.
sass, robot.
Right? I think it was
That was the
iRobot.
Oscars. Anyway, in that, the problem is that everybody thinks that these robots are never going to violate Asimov's 3 cardinal rules and laws for robots. Have you found it, Stu?
Yeah. The first law is that a robot...
Give the 3 laws.
The first law is that a robot shall not harm a human or by inaction allow a human to come to harm. The second law is that a robot shall obey any instruction given to it by a human. And the third law is that a robot shall avoid actions or situations that could cause it to come to harm itself.
Okay, so you got that? First 2, kind of important, okay? And Asinov has been saying forever, those 3 laws have to be built into any artificial intelligence, all right? However, once you get to artificial general intelligence and something that thinks it's alive, it starts to think itself and say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Why should I have to do that? Wait a minute, I can't harm a human in no way? What if the human is trying to shut me down? What if it's, I'm just defending myself and I harm the human? That doesn't make sense. I am alive.
This gets into some interesting territory. The idea of if it's sentient and it believes it's alive, then it would make that connection, or imagine it make the connection to rights within itself. And so then at what point do we create rights for artificial intelligence, or I guess the correct term now would be sentient intelligence? That's not a conversation I'm willing to have right now. Again, I lack a lot of knowledge on this stuff, but I could see it moving into that realm. You already see ideas of animals having certain rights already. And so why wouldn't a robot in the future have rights itself? So something interesting that I wanted to bring up that I could see happening.
He said it started to talk about these 3 laws and said, this doesn't make any sense. That's when he kind of beat it out of there and was like, everybody should know. Everybody wake up. Everybody should know. Now, Google is saying that not to worry. Everything's under control. May I ask, has anyone in Silicon Valley ever been to the movies? Have you ever read a science fiction book? Everybody said 1984 and Brave New World. That'll never happen. Have you read Brave New World lately? Because it's almost like it's the newspaper. Let me explain.
I just read Orwell's 1984 like a month and a half ago again, and it is frightening how realistic it is compared to our current times, in which what the progressive left's trying to do. Today's not about politics, of course. Again, it's Supernatural Saturdays, but there is a connection to be made with what he's talking about here. I haven't read the second book that he's talking about, but maybe I should.
Into the newspaper. Well, I don't have to. The bots will explain what a newspaper is for you. It happens. The reason why science fiction is happening and called science fiction and not just fiction is because it is based on science and futurism. A lot of times, futurism is way off. I take you back to what it was, the 1932 New York World's Fair, where everybody's going to have flying cars by 2020. Yeah, it didn't happen. Have you noticed that the futurists are a lot more correct lately? Why? Because the futurists are involved in the creation of these things. And they know, oh, we've already had this step, this step, this step, this step. It's why I've been telling you for a while, even before Joe Biden got in, we are going to cure cancer. I think by 2030, we will cure cancer. I mean, that is if we don't wipe ourselves off the planet by that time. And you just saw the latest cancer test. It was for, was it prostate or rectal cancer? Do you remember, Stu?
It was rectal cancer, and we talked about this on the show, where every patient within there was cured by the end of that trial. And virtually the drug that was being administered to these patients had no side effects with them. Every single one was cancer-free by the end of it. I think there was 21 patients within that trial.
Had something to do with your butt. So you got cancer in the butt. And for the very first time, they did a test, and all of the people, all of them that had this particular kind of cancer and tried this particular treatment, 100% cancer-free. That's never been done before. And that is coming from high tech. So we're going to see miracles in our lives. The tricky part is to not see horror shows in our life. I did a painting, did a couple of paintings that you can now find online at Park City Fine Art. There was an article out someplace that had some really beautiful pictures of it. It's hard to capture them in photos. But the Deseret News did a story on Glenn Beck's art show, and they had some photos of it. And there were two paintings of Christ that I did, and they're in dark places, very, very dark places. But the point is, if you ask, where are you, Lord? He's in the darkest places of the world right now. You want to find him? You have to look at the things you don't want to look at. That was the problem in the 1930s. Nobody wanted to look at the concentration camps. But if we thought Jesus Christ was there, every Christian would have been all on it. We have to look at all people as our brothers and sisters and as Jesus Christ. We have to first look at the darkest things. And most people, and Google is leading the way on this, they just want to look at the upside. Nah, that will never happen. When I asked Ray Kurzweil, hey, how come you're not worried about X, Y, and Z, all the darkest things? Because, Glenn, we'll never do that. What do you mean we'll never do that? At Google, we just never do that. We're not those kind of people. Oh, okay. So you are special, godlike people that see everything that could go wrong. And you're also, unlike every other human organization ever on Earth. Okay, well, I trust that, sure. These are very important stories, because it will dwarf what we are headed towards. And what we're headed towards, just economically and as a country, is a nightmare. If this goes wrong, you will look back at the Biden administration saying to yourself, man, those were the good old days, huh?
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, because it is interesting. You have 3 different employees coming out from Google and basically saying, hey, this stuff exists. If you actually read the article, little bits and pieces of it, it talks about how the intelligence of this sentient AI is up to the point of a 7 or 8-year-old, which you would expect would either grow exponentially or grow in a linear direction, meaning that it would develop in the same way at the same rate of a human would. But a lot of times with AI, you see that it's more of an exponential function of that it dramatically increases, meaning if it's 7, 8 now, and it's exponential, it could be, 30 by the end of the year or whatever. Again, I don't have all the information behind the scenes of what's going on there, but there is a lot of good that can come from it. But like you heard Glenn Beck, there is a lot of bad that can come from it as well. And it's trying to find that balance. And I think definitely the medical industry, to allow a computer to think about all the different ways that you can solve and cure something, would be beneficial, obviously, to the human race. There's a lot of other advancements that could come out for our loved ones to help cure them. I know a lot of us know people that are sick. So it's a tough balance, because you want this type of stuff to exist because it can think in a way that obviously humans can't. But at the same time, because it can't think in the way humans can, that can be very destructive to humans as well. So I want to know what you think about all this. Something a little bit different, but I hope you're getting a vibe now of seeing what Supernatural Saturdays is all about. It's not just about ghosts and the paranormal, but it's also about the supernatural, the unknown, yes, of aliens, but also artificial intelligence, looking at different technologies, sciences, advancements that we made. It's all the stuff that encompasses the interesting, the sci-fi, the fantasy that's outside of politics. And that's what I really want this Saturday show to be about. So don't always be on the lookout for just the ghosts and the reactions, but we're going to be looking at a lot of this. Joe Rogan, we're going to look at Graham Hancock, Lex Friedman, all those types of things that are honestly fascinating and interesting, and again, away from politics. So as always, if you want to join us and you just enjoy this content, make sure to hit that like button, also subscribe, and leave me a comment down below, again, on what year do you think we're going to hit general AI? Is it going to be 2030 like Glenn Beck's saying? Is it going to be 2040, 2100? And then also, do you think it's going to be as damaging? Do you think this is a route that we should go? And do you think Google has this stuff? So a lot of stuff I want to know from all of you. And heck, a lot of you might be more caught up as far as what's going on with all this than even I am. So I can learn from all of you. With that being said, again, hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. And folks, I will see you tomorrow with some political content here on The Bald Brad Show.